Welcome back. This is the Horn Takes Podcast, your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I am your host, Sean Redfern. It's Tuesday. Today is my Wednesday. Tomorrow is my Friday. And we're off to some more high school baseball. We were down in the Austin area last weekend for a tournament. Got to see some pretty good players. Got to see a kid out of Allen, Texas. Chandler, what is his last name? I can't remember his last name. A lot of people remember his last name in a couple of years. This kid is just a sophomore. Big lefty out of Allen, Texas. He was the district pitcher of the year as a freshman last year. Lots of scouts on board to see this kid. I imagine he was hitting about 90 miles an hour easily early in the game with a lot of run. A lot of run. I don't know if I've seen a high school pitcher, and I am not a high school scout. Like, I don't go around to random high school games and watch pitchers, so this may not be saying much. I've personally not, and I've seen some okay high school pitchers. I've never seen one with that kind of run on a fastball. I'm talking like 4, 5, 6 inches this thing runs off the plate. Very tough to hit, and he only gave up 2 hits in this game. One of them was a home run to our squad, which was the difference in the game. It was a 1-0 game, so both pitchers really, really good. One of them, the kid from Lubbock Cooper, is I believe is signed to go to Midland College to pitch. Rumor, and I've just kind of heard this from parents. I don't know how true this is, but this Chandler kid. And that's his first name, out of Allen, Texas. He, rumor, is like a commit to Texas. I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to make it to a college campus. I think this guy is going to be one of those kids that gets drafted out of high school. But who knows? You never know what might happen. So regardless, we're headed to Dallas this weekend. I expect we'll see some more good pitching. Up in Dallas. We'll be playing at Hazlet, Texas, and over in Little Elm, Texas. And I don't even know what the name of the tournament is, but a lot of recognizable names from the DFW area, I believe, are playing in this tournament. So that's what we got going on. We're our second show in a row without sunglasses on. I don't know if I love it. I don't know if I hate it. And I haven't posted a TikTok video since I did this, so I need to do that and judge reactions, see how it goes. I don't know if we're going to stick with it or not. We'll just have to see. We'll talk about those Hardwood Horns today. Woe is them. Not woe is me. Basketball is not a sport, but woe is them. Things are looking not good for Texas's tournament chances. We'll talk about all that in a few minutes. Talk about some Texas baseball, man. We're 2 weekends in. What does this team look like? What do we think is good? What do we think is bad? What's coming up for this Texas team? And then, my God, we got to talk about this rushing the field, storming the court debate. Interesting bit of news about that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But first, check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Guys, I would really love to get my following up on those sites, especially YouTube. Man, I would love to get to 1,000 on YouTube. So if you're out there listening to this and you've got friends that like Longhorn sports, particularly football and baseball, I could be their guy. And if they really like to hear like a lot of cussing, I'm definitely their guy. If they like to hear just brutally honest takes on Texas sports, I am their guy. Send them my way. If they just like to listen to podcasts, you can find us at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts for the most part. I don't think we're on Google because I think they make it stupid to get like on there, like get your feed into the Google podcasts. Or maybe it just doesn't work for me when I try to do it. I am on Apple Podcasts, and I am on Spotify, and I am on iHeart. But if you don't know what any of those things are, just type in www.horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. That'll get you to my page, and you can subscribe there, and you can listen to every single episode of my demented sports takes. Going back, man, we're coming up on 2 years this year Week after Red River Shootout will be 2 years that we've been casting pods and putting videos up on YouTube and we've been putting videos on TikTok for, probably 3 years now, almost 3 years now. Hardwood Horns, man. So we talked last week about how they had some games they had to win. We felt like they had to win all the home games. They got to go on the road and at least win one of these final road games. And they go into Lawrence and just get absolutely slapped. 86-67. Man, this team has gone from kind of being just kind of frustrating early this season. Like they were like with teams, they were playing with teams. They weren't getting blown out, but they were playing some bad basketball, and you were just like, man, this team is so frustrating. If they could just clean it up, like we might be able to do something, to just now being disgustingly bad. And they have gone cold on the scoring end of the court. Yeah, and they never were good at defense. So that's a bad combination, not being able to defend anybody and then also not being able to knock down any shots. They just get totally run out of the building by Kansas. They're 17-10 on the season, 6-8 in the Big 12, which is also really rough. I mean, I know the Big 12 is a good conference, but come on, man. 6-8 in the Big 12? Yeah. Just not a good deal for Texas basketball. I still don't know whether to feel bad about Rodney Terry or just say to myself, Rodney Terry's just not a good coach, and that's why Texas is in this situation. It's probably like anything else. The truth is kind of in the middle. It's probably a little bit of both of those things. I don't know. Rodney Terry's going to get another year. There's a lot of people out there that, want to talk about firing him now and finding who they can find now. That's not realistic, I don't think. I think he's going to get another year to kind of do some recruiting, see what he can bring in. This Texas basketball team is on the road tonight in Lubbock, Texas at 8 p.m. on ESPN. This is absolutely a must-win in my opinion. And the reason I feel like this is a must-win is because their next away game is Baylor. And I think they beat Baylor. I think they beat Baylor earlier this year at the Moody Center. They're not going to beat Baylor on the road. That's just my thoughts. I don't think it's going to happen. I think I think this Texas Tech team, already a team that came to the Moody Center, and I'm pretty sure beat Texas by double digits. They're clearly a better team than Texas. But I think Texas Tech is their best shot to get that road win out of those two remaining games. So I feel like tonight is a must-win. There's 4 games to go for this Texas team. They got 2 home games left against Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. And we've said it before. We've said it multiple times the last couple of weeks. They've got to win those home games. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. No two ways about it. They got to win those home games. I am not sure they can do that. Just to be perfectly honest. They haven't played Oklahoma State yet. They brutalized Oklahoma and Norman. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that they can do that to either one of those teams. I don't know if they can beat either one of those teams. You get what I'm getting at, Longhorn fans? They got to go on the road to Baylor, like we said, next Monday. They got to win 3 of their next 4. I think this team is done from an NCAA tournament perspective. I just don't see it. I guess that makes them a lock for the NIT. I don't know. And honestly, man, we didn't get to watch them early a lot, but they were all right competitive, man. And you know what's crazy? They were competitive without Dylan Dessou, who I think we all kind of thought was the savior. We kind of thought once Dylan Dessou gets back, this team will gel a little bit. They'll get his presence. He was amazing at the end of last season before he got hurt. So I think we all kind of thought, man, Dylan Dessou comes back, we're going to be all right. And that has not happened. They have been worse. Maybe not a worse basketball team, but they've played worse basketball which I don't know how you differentiate and distinguish that, but I know somebody's going to say something like, oh, they're not worse. Here's some statistics that I don't keep up with fucking basketball statistics. So don't come at me with that bullshit. Like, they've lost a fuck ton of games since Dylan Dessou came back. So back to my original thought. Earlier this season, they were competing. They lost a couple games. And I know they got run in one of them, but for the most part, they were doing all right. They didn't look like just a completely lost, hopeless team like they do today. And I kept saying, I think this team's going to look a lot different at the end of the season. I think once they get Dylan Dessou back, get him, it'll take him some time, to get back on his feet. It'll take him some time to gel as a team. But once they do that, end of the season, I think this team's a good team. I think it's a team that can, make some noise. Not a ton of noise in the tournament, but can make some noise in the tournament. But they just are not, man. They're just not good. They just don't have talent. And I don't mean that. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just saying that team is not talented. It's not good. And it's a damn shame. You look at a guy like Dylan Mitchell, who as a freshman was just, everybody knew he was athletic, but he just didn't do anything. And then he supposedly works on his shot and does all this stuff and whatever. And again, it just doesn't work out, man. He's just not, and I don't even know what his numbers are. It's not good enough. He's not a star. Like, I don't see. It's so strange. You see these guys like flirt with the NBA. What does the NBA see in this guy? I mean, he can't score. He cannot play defense. I don't know, man. This Texas basketball team, we're going to say it, they're done. They're not winning 3 of the next 4. I don't think they're going to win tonight. And then who knows what happens between, if they don't win tonight, they're in a situation, I think, and I'm not an expert, just I think they're going to have to win their final 3 games, and I just don't see that happening. So that's it, Texas basketball, man. I think they're done. They're going to NIT it. Maybe we'll be the NIT national champions again, or whatever the hell it's called, NIT champions. Let's talk about something fun, Texas baseball. Love me some baseball. Love me some Texas baseball. The tradition is rich at the University of Texas in baseball. Series sweep against Cal Poly over the weekend. And these guys didn't give up a single run all weekend. This team hasn't given up a run since the 8th inning 4 games ago against Houston Christian. So a midweek matchup about a week ago. Actually, not about a week, almost a week ago. If you want to take it down to like exact hours and minutes, it's almost a week ago that this Texas team gave up its last run this season. And that is hard to do. I want you guys to think about that. Don't think about who they played necessarily. Just think about how hard it is to shut out a team in baseball one time. And then think about how hard it would be to do that 3 times in a row. That's some damn good pitching. And I don't care who you're playing. And I know Cal Poly is not like a great team. I know that. I think they were averaging like 3 runs a game, 3.2 runs a game or something like that coming into this series with Texas. So they're obviously not an offensive power. They're not an offensive juggernaut. And I certainly don't think Texas is going to hold everybody the rest of this season to 0 runs. There will be teams that find a way to score runs on Texas, and some teams will find a way to score a lot of runs on Texas. That's not what I'm trying to get at. I'm just saying this team reminds me a lot. It's a different style offensively, obviously. But this team reminds me a lot of like one of these older Augie Garrido teams that can just pitch. And if you can pitch, you got an opportunity to win a lot of games, and you got an opportunity to win games when it counts. Now, who knows who knows how long this team can continue to pitch well. We saw last season some guys look really good early from this pitching staff and then really struggle down the stretch. So who knows if we get to see just outstanding pitching the rest of the season. But so far, it's been really good. I think the bats are starting to put in a little work. They're starting to get a little bit better. This team's batting .332 as a team, which is kind of, that's good. It's a good team batting average, but it's a little bit skewed. And it's really being carried. They're really being carried offensively by a couple dudes. Jared Thomas batting .571. He's got 5 doubles, a home run, 5 RBI. That's the leadoff. You got Peyton Powell that's batting .467. He's got 2 doubles, a triple, and 4 home runs already. And this one is the crazy 15 RBI through 7 games. Peyton Powell. Those 2 guys account for like 41% of Texas's RBIs this season. You got Max Bellew, who's the guy that didn't get a lot of playing time last year. Coach Pierce has talked repeatedly about how he has earned the right to play this season so far. He's an outfielder. I think he's a utility guy. I think he can play a lot of different places. But he got a couple home runs over the weekend. So it's good to see. It's good to see some of these guys, some different guys, besides Jared Thomas and Peyton Powell and Jalen Flores to a lesser extent. It's good to see some other guys putting the ball in play and putting the ball in play hard. Cody Howard got the start for Tanner Witt on Sunday. We haven't seen Tanner Witt since last weekend. He went like 1 inning. I think he gave up 2 runs. He walked 2 or 3 batters. Did not look crisp at all. I think you got to assume something's wrong with that arm. I just don't see any way. He pitched last year at the end of the season. It just wouldn't make sense to me that David Pierce would just say, I'm going to make a change here and go with Cody Howard if Tanner Witt was healthy. Because I don't think you just come back and like that's something you have to work through. You got to work through the rust. And now he's got even more rust. I mean, he hadn't thrown until the end of last season. Then he gets thrown in there, and he's thrown some but I'm talking about live action. And then I think it was the Big 12 tournament. It might have been the weekend before that he got his first action off the mound in 2023. He pitches a little bit in the tournament. So not a whole lot of pitching last. So essentially, it's been like 2 years since this guy stepped on a mound and pitched. And so if he's healthy, you got to let him work through that. And Pierce hasn't said anything, and I haven't seen any reporting anywhere that said anything contrary to that. But I just feel like there's got to be something going on with that. I mean, that's a rough deal, man. Feel really bad for Tanner Witt if that's the case. If it's not the case, though, will we see him? Maybe we see him tonight. I don't know. St. John's coming in tonight, 6:30 p.m. on the Longhorn Network. They're 2-2 in the season. They started off the year with a sweep of Florida, by God. And yes, it's a sweep because I don't give a shit if they didn't get to play all 3 games because of rain. They beat Florida 1-0 in a 1-game series. Opening weekend. They go into the mighty Florida Gators house and get it done. I believe they won that game 9-5, 9-6, something like that. So St. John's coming in with a sweep of Florida under their belt. They took 1 from Houston last weekend in a series on Sunday to avoid the sweep. But those guys are going to come in. They're going to be ready to play, man. I mean, you look at Texas baseball, and first of all, it's Texas. Like, they're going to want to beat Texas so they can do their horns down. They're going to want to, they're going to want to have that conversation to have for the rest of their lives that, by God, they went to Austin, they went into Texas's house, and they beat Texas Longhorns. They're going to want that. And then you factor in the fact that, Texas has had such success in baseball. It'd be a really big win for a program like St. John. So I don't blame them. I'm not like hating on these kids. They ought to want to go win anywhere they go. But I think there's like a little sort of extra to, beating Texas at Texas. As so those guys, they're going to come up. They're going to come in fired up and ready to play. Texas better be ready for that. They shouldn't be looking at this. I mean, you look at what's coming up. Texas should not be looking at this as like a glorified practice. Like Texas needs to go in and like keep the momentum going. I think it's a good week. I mean, a good chance, good opportunity for some of these guys, these midweek guys, to do that. From a pitching perspective, maybe some of the other guys that don't normally get to play on the weekend will get to play. I don't think Pierce really has his final dead set. This is going to be my lineup. I think he's still tinkering with that. I think we're close. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I don't think he's there yet. So we might see some different guys tonight. But generally speaking, for this baseball team, it's been a really good start. 6-1 record. They're giving up like a tick over 2 runs a game. I know it's really hard to judge because of the competition. But man, like 6-1 is 6-1. And the way they've pitched so far is really good. You can't take that away from them. But I agree. I mean, I do understand that there are certain levels to baseball. And they have not played just an extremely rigorous schedule so far to this point. But we're definitely about to find out about this Texas team. Coming up this weekend is the Astros Foundation College Classic. And Texas has a couple rough draws in this joker. They got number 3 LSU Friday night at 7 p.m. They got Texas State Saturday at 3 p.m. And Texas State, listen, there's a lot of good baseball players in the state of Texas. And they don't all get to go to Texas. They don't all get to go to A&M. They don't all get to go to Arkansas. They don't all get to go to Texas Tech, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. They don't all go to big schools like that. I mean, if you look at baseball across the country and like high school baseball, I think you got, the Southeast obviously got some good players. You got California, and then you got Texas. I think that's kind of your meccas of high school baseball. And Texas is a huge state, has a lot of kids. The point I'm trying to make is Texas State is going to have some good players. They're going to be capable. So that's not a gimme. And then Sunday, they got number 9 Vandy at 11 a.m. All these games will be on the Longhorn Radio Network. I'm sure there is some ridiculous streaming service that is carrying this, or some ridiculous website that you got to, kind of like if you want to watch the Texas Rangers, you got to get Bally Sports. I'm sure there's some weird, it may be that little Houston network thing that carries the Houston Astros games. I don't know that for sure. But there'll be some way you could watch if you want to pay money to watch. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to listen to these games on the radio, on the interwebs. I'm going to listen to, hopefully, Craig Way. Got to hear Craig Way on the way home on Saturday. Was it Saturday? No, yesterday, Sunday. Yesterday was not Sunday. Was yesterday Sunday? What the hell? No. 2 days ago on Sunday, I got to listen to Craig Way call the game. So that was cool. Craig Way, man, one of the best in the business. Got to be. If you haven't had a chance, I know I've said this before, but you haven't had a chance to listen to Craig Way call a Texas baseball game, it's really, really cool. Do that. And so that's the Astros Foundation College Classic. 2 really highly ranked teams there. Then they'll host Texas A&M, number 8 Texas A&M, at 6:30 Tuesday night, and that one will be on LHN. And then they go on the road to play their opening Big 12 series against Texas Tech, who's currently ranked number 18. And just, holy shit, they scored, I don't know what their final score was on Sunday. At one point, they had scored 66 runs against Texas Southern in a 3-game weekend series. The first game was like 35 runs. The second game was 22 runs. And then they were like had 9 runs or some crazy mess like that on Sunday. Wow. Just, man, one thing I've always liked about Tim Tadlock's teams, they are aggressive at the plate, man. They are not. Those dudes play the game like I would want my team to play the game. Now, I'm not saying I'm not trying to compare Tim Tadlock to any other coaches. I'm not trying to say he's like some god or something like that. I think he's a very good coach. I think he doesn't get, the best recruits that some of these other programs get, and he's landed that team in the College World Series a couple times. But what I will say is they are like beautifully aggressive at the plate. Like if you throw them a first pitch fastball, they're not looking at it, and they are hacking. They get big numbers offensively for a couple reasons. Their field is the smallest field in Lubbock, Texas. That's supposedly a full-size baseball field. There are 4 or 5 high school stadiums in Lubbock, Texas that are bigger than Rip Griffin Park or Rip Griffin Stadium or whatever the hell they call it. And then also the way that place points, like the backstop is basically looking southwest. So we get predominantly west, northwest winds, sometimes southwest winds, which would go against you as a hitter. But this time of year, there's a lot of wind coming out of the north and the west. And so you hit a pop-up there, it's going out. So anyway, Texas got to go play them up in Lubbock. So I expect a lot of balls to leave the park for that series, unless we get some crazy wind coming the other direction. So you look at that, after tonight, 4 of their next 5 are against top 20 teams. That's a pretty good stretch. So you got to think if Texas can kind of run through that, they got a shot. You'll have to call it. You'll have to kind of look at them and say, man, that's like a legit team. Like they're a contender. Like that doesn't mean they're going to win it. Doesn't even mean they'll get there, because let's be frank, people. Texas has the most College World Series appearances of any program in the country. And when people say that, like, I don't think people understand how hard that is. They have gotten to the Elite 8 of college baseball like 60-something% of the seasons they've played. And that, you won't see that in basketball. Or rather 60-something% of the seasons that the College World Series has actually been a thing. Texas has been there. So the point, that's hard. It's hard to do that. I have to reel myself in. I say stuff like, Pierce has got us to the College World Series, but he hasn't had a lot of success there. And that's true. And I don't mean it to sound negative. I could see why some people would think, man, that's just really negative. And in a way, I can see their point. It is, kind of. I mean, they got to the Elite 8 multiple times since Pierce has been here. So I think if Texas can perform well against those teams, I think you got to look at them as a contender. On the flip side of that, if they don't, I don't think you've got to look at them and say they're not a contender. That's a tough stretch. It's early. We've seen really good Texas teams go to these little pre-conference big name tournament deals, whatever you call them, round robins, classics of baseball, and get their dicks knocked in the dirt. And then we've seen them against those same types of teams in the postseason win those series. So it's a good measuring stick, but it's not necessary. I mean, and if they do great, like I said, it may not translate to a College World Series team. But I at least think you got to go, they can compete. I think Pierce still needs to find his third starter. We talked about Witt struggling in that first start last weekend. It was Cody Howard this last weekend. I think it'll probably be him on Sunday. He's got a pretty good season so far. 9 innings pitched, 1 run, 5 Ks, 0 ERA. You look at LBJ and Charlie Hurley. Those guys have been really, really good. 13 innings pitched, 2 runs, 14 Ks, and a 1.38 ERA for LBJ. 9.2 innings pitched, 1 run, 5 Ks, and a .93 ERA for Charlie Hurley. So, man, the team ERA is 1.66 for Texas right now. That's rough. Man, that's tough. And again, it's going to change. How much does it change? I don't know. I mean, I think if you're sitting anywhere less than 4, I think you're, as a team, you're tough. And if you're down in the 3s, you're really tough. Talked about it earlier. A lot of guys playing in the field. Not sure what tonight will look like. Trying to figure out, what conference play looks like. I think Rylan Galvan and Kimball Schusler are making it really tough on him from a catcher's perspective, trying to figure out who's going to be the guy at catcher. At the plate, they're both kicking ass. Rylan Galvan has got a .533 batting average. Kimball Schusler is trailing with a .462 batting average. I think defensively they're a lot similar. I don't necessarily know that there's one thing that the other can do that the other one can't defensively. Got to get Porter Brown, Jack O'Dowd going. They're struggling at the plate a little bit. I think if that happens, got a pretty dangerous little lineup in the makings. And here's what I think this final group's going to look like. I think in the outfield, you're going to see Porter Brown, Jared Thomas, and Will Gasparino. I think that's going to, and I'm talking like I feel like this is probably what's going to trot out Friday night against LSU. You're going to have Peyton Powell at third, Jalen Flores at shortstop. I like D. Kennedy at second base and Jack O'Dowd at first base. I like Galvan behind the dish, and I think Max Bellew is a guy that could do some DHing for you, and maybe rotate out a little bit, give some guys in the outfield a rest one night, let one of those guys just hit. I got no inside knowledge. I'm just telling you what I've seen. That's what I think happens. I think you want to see Jared Thomas out in the outfield. I mean, he can definitely play first base. And if O'Dowd can't get his shit together, we might see Jared Thomas play first base, and we might see a bunch of those freshmen one of a bunch of those freshman outfielders play out in the field. Maybe a Jaden Duplantier. So check them out tonight, 6:30 against St. John's. Little warm-up action before they head to this college classic. I'm really excited about that one. I'm really bummed that I can't watch it. Pay-per-view, guys, man. We got to get rid of pay-per-view. It's bullshit. Let's talk about rushing the field, storming the court. We have talked about this before. There have been just a ton of incidents in the last few years, some involving Texas, some not, where it's just, you can go way back to, hell, I don't even know who it was that beat Oregon one year when LeGarrette Blount was there. And he just cold-cocked some dude, some fan that was out on the field after the game. And I'm not trying to glamorize LeGarrette Blount punching a fan. I don't think necessarily that that's a good thing. But I don't know what the conversation was. I don't know what happened before the cameras got on that situation. I don't know any of that stuff. All I know is a fan was where they don't belong, and a player punched one of them in the face. We've seen a Texas Longhorn player get nailed in the back by a Texas Tech fan 2 years ago up in Lubbock when they lost that game in overtime. just a lot of stuff like that. And it's never happening with fans that are just excited to run out there and get with their team, get with their student body on, in the middle of the court or field and just celebrate a big win. It's never those people. It's the handful of jackasses that decide I'm going to rush the field and I'm going to go get a YouTube video or a TikTok or an Instagram. I'm going to get a video for the gram where I'm like acting all tough to a guy I'm 99% sure is not going to do anything because he has a whole hell of a lot more to lose than I do. See, I'm just a fan sitting in the stands that really I'm emotionally attached, obviously, but I'm not doing anything to create this win. But I'm going to celebrate like I have done something. But actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get on the field or the court, and I'm just going to act like a jackass. That's where all the dangerous stuff happens. And we've just seen a couple of incidents here recently. You got the Duke player over the weekend when West Virginia beats them, Wake Forest beats them. He's trying to get off the court. It's like a 7'8" dude. You couldn't miss this guy if you tried to miss him. I mean, like you couldn't miss this guy in a West Coast forest, like one of those big ass redwood trees and shit. That's how big this dude is. And a fan, and we'll talk about it a little more in depth, but fans are coming at this guy, and one of the fans somehow hits his knee, and then he gets pushed in the back, and it's a big fucking mess, and he's crying. The coach is like, I don't know what the hell I don't know what that facial expression that the coach had was trying to convey, but it was crazy. And he may be hurt. He may be injured. They had to carry, and I'm not like pick him up and carry him, but he couldn't support his own weight on his leg. Now, granted, I felt like kind of instigated a little bit of that contact. So I'm not necessarily blaming just these kids that ran into him in this particular incident. I am going to blame the situation itself because the situation itself should never happen. And then a few weeks ago, or I don't know, I'm old. I lose track of time. I feel like it was a few weeks ago. Caitlin Clark just gets fucking nailed by an Ohio State fan when they're rushing the court and just knocked over. And so the debate rages on, like, and folks, man, I don't know. Here's the story. I take my wife's car to Discount Tire the other day to get the tire pressure checks. And one of her little biz ding wang, whatever, kick-ass little monitor things is saying, oh, you're losing air. So I just get to Discount Tire. I get out of the car. I sit down. I'm waiting for them to come out. They hadn't opened yet. And I pick up my phone, and I see a bunch of text messages. And the first text message is a video. And it's a group message, but it's not a group message that I normally carry, right? You got your group messages that you keep in your phone all the time, and then there's some that just pop up randomly. Can't wait to delete them because they're taking up space. But this was one of those. Not necessarily that I wanted to delete it, but that I don't. It's not one that I carry. And the first thing was a video, and then there was like 4 or 5 quick tests after that. So I'm confused. I'm like, what is going on? And then I finally, someone says, oh, it looks like Sean. So I click on this video, and it's someone shooting a video with their phone of their TV. And it's a segment on the Today Show about rushing the court, storming the court. And yours truly has a cameo appearance in this story. And I'm a little upset because the Today Show did not ask me if they could use that video. I've seen no royalties of this since. I don't know what the law is on that. But I'm a little sarcastically upset about that. But anyway, it was a video I did, man, probably a year and a half ago. I think it was the week after that tech deal. And maybe not. Maybe it was, I don't know when it was. It was after one of these incidents. these rush the court, rush the field incidents type things. And I was just saying, I'm not the fun police, but we got to find a way to make this safe. And it is absolutely just not safe. So anyway, I'm famous. Go check it out on the Today Show website. So I texted my wife. I sent her the video, and I'm like, she's like, is that serious? Is that real? And I was like, yeah, I think it is. So she went and found it. Totally legit. I am on the Today Show. I never thought I'd grow up and be on the Today Show, even if they did it behind my back. And I haven't seen a single $1 million out of it yet, but I am on the Today Show. Every young boy's dream to be on the Today Show as a sports talk guy that doesn't make any money from TikTok. That's what it was. But this shit is dangerous, and everybody thinks about the players, and rightfully so. You think about the players being in danger. You don't know who's coming on that court. They're obviously spun up. You don't know what their intentions are. Some of them, I mean, look, we live in a crazy-ass world, man. Some of those people might have weapons. You just don't know. So there's already this danger from that perspective. But I think the thing that hardly anybody talks about when you talk about storming the court and rushing the field and all that shit is the fans, how much danger they're in. Some of these fields, like the walls, the drop from the first row down to the field, and I would imagine the same thing for some of these basketball courts probably, is not a short drop. Like, it's a long fall. I'm talking, in some cases, it's like 6, 7, 8 feet from the damn railing to the ground. So, one, it's just dangerous it would be dangerous to jump off of that or fall off of that or climb down from that by yourself, much less with thousands of other people clamoring all around you to do the same thing. And then there's, and then once they get down on the court or the field, there's this mad fucking dash. Someone's going to get trampled. Someone's going to fall on the 8-foot drop and fucking break their leg and can't get up. And thousands of kids that don't give a fuck that this other kid is hurt are going to land on top of them repeatedly. And when the dust settles, you're going to have a kid that's like fucking flattened to a bloody pulp, all because your team won a damn regular season game that ultimately doesn't matter. There was a death at some small school last year or the year before. They rushed the field, tore down the goalpost. When the goalpost found, fucking whacked a kid in the head. Dead. I just don't get it. And again, it's not I feel like the original intent, the original court storm or the original rush the field thing was just like an excitement thing to get out there and honestly celebrate as a student body with their team. It was like a team thing. It was like this is our school, hell yeah thing. And what that is morphed into more often than not is lawless and just dumbass behavior. It's not a celebration anymore. It's an excuse to drink about 20 beers before the game, have another 5 or 6 while you're at the game, and then just go act like a dumbass if your team wins. It's turned into an excuse to show your ass and just really be like just a bad human, man. I like people that taunt people and freaking, put like, they're just taunting those guys trying to get a reaction to fuck their life up. And that makes you a shitty human being. And if you're going to run up and just like blindside these guys because you think it makes you fucking cool and you want to take a video and you're trying to get some clout, that makes you a shitty human being. And I know the proponents are going to argue, we can't stop storming the court. It's like one of the cool traditions it's like one of the coolest things. Well, fucking control yourselves then. Like, act like humans instead of like a wild pack of freaking idiots. Act like humans. Go out there, have your celebration. Leave the other team alone. Don't stick a phone in their face. Don't freaking try to provoke them into a fight because you think it's cool and you're trying to get some clout. Go celebrate with your team and your fans and let those guys get the hell off the court or off the field safely. And let's get on the field safely if we're going to do it. I mean, why the hell are we even storming the court for like regular season games? Why is Wake Forest storming the court because they beat Duke in a freaking ACC game? Who fucking cares? You know, the next question is like, how do you stop it? The fines aren't working. Schools get fined. Like some schools, some conferences fine, some don't. The SEC has like $100,000 fine for first time offense. I think it's like $250 after that. They're not. I mean, these ADs are paying it, and I mean they're just excusing the behavior. You know, back during, and I don't know the details of all of these incidents, but back when that Texas Tech thing happened. Where the guy pushed a Texas player from behind. We're gonna Kirby Hocutt. We're gonna do everything we can to find this person. Bullshit. Everybody on the planet in Lubbock, Texas, that's a Tech fan knows exactly who that fucking guy was. I bet you. And I live in Lubbock, and they won't tell me, but I guarantee you, people would tell me I know who that was. So you can't tell me Kirby Hocutt can't figure out, and Texas Tech University can't figure out who that was that did that. There's video of it. There's probably video of it. They're probably tracking all these guys by satellites and shit anyway. They know exactly who it was, but there has been no accountability for that human being that I'm aware of. I mean, you start throwing these people in jail, maybe trespassing, fining them for trespassing, the individuals, I don't know. Loss of ticket privileges. Here's what I think's going to happen. I was kind of thinking about this morning, and I think what's going to eventually happen, and it's going to take somebody getting really bad hurt. Like someone's going to have to fucking die in one of these stampedes, or some player's going to have to end up in a wheelchair or something because, like, I don't know, somebody like jumped them and beat the fuck out of them. Something bad is going to have to happen, but I bet you at some point there's glass around the bottom of football fields, there's glass around the bottom of basketball fields, just like at a hockey game, except it's not to protect the fans from the fucking frozen ass puck that'll kill you if it hits you. It's to protect the players and the fans from the fans because they're too damn stupid to fucking act right after they win a game. That's what's going to happen. And that sucks. Check us out next week. We'll talk about those Hardwood Horns. Can they hang on to that small smidgen of hope at getting into the getting into the basketball tournament, March Madness? We'll talk about the baseball team, how they fared at the Astros Foundation Baseball Classic this weekend at Minute Maid Park. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Follow and subscribe, please. It won't cost you guys a thing. I would appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, and concerns and criticisms and fuck yous and hey, I love you and hey, I saw you on the Today Show. Guys, get hooked. Have a good one.